When I was at the University of Pennsylvania, I actually started to study the world's religions in an intense way because of an experience that I had had. When I was a young boy, I developed a problem. And the problem was fairly serious. And it was the kind of problem that I was very embarrassed about. And it was a problem that every day I would say a prayer about this problem. It was a problem that really worried me. It felt like I was imprisoned by this problem. But then one day, it was actually on a Christmas morning, I went to a friend's house. And when I went to her house, I felt an unusual sort of quality of love in the atmosphere. And it grew in its intensity over the course of the morning. And I couldn't quite figure out what was going on, but I felt I felt illumined by it. I felt moved by it. And actually I started to cry, and I wasn't quite sure about why I was crying. And then I heard a voice, actually. I mean, I'm not schizophrenic, so it was just like, it was a strange mystical encounter. And the voice said, "You mustn't worry. Everything is going to be all right." And it felt to me like that was a direct response to my concerns about this problem that I had, that I had been sort of praying about for years. And sure enough, it was as though one day I had this problem, and the next day it was gone. And I was so struck by the mystery of it that I started to study religions intensely, because it felt to me like a mystical experience. So when I went to the University of Pennsylvania, I went with a real deep interest in the world's religions, and studied Islam, Christianity, Buddhism. And I said to my professor, Stephen R. Dunning, I said, whenever I read the works of these great messengers, I hear essentially the same voice. And he said to me, "I think you are reading these prophets too superficially. You have to read more deeply, and then you will be able to perceive the vast differences between them." And the more I read, actually, the more I saw the similarities between them. In that context, a fellow by the name of David Harrington saw me in the graduate lounge at the University of Pennsylvania and said, "I think you would be interested in the Baha'i teachings, given your profound interest in religions." He said, "Why don't you come with me to a fireside tonight?" And I said, "What's a fireside?" He said, "It's a place where we share informally the teachings of the Baha'i Faith." And when I went into the fireside that evening, and I saw at the table these people who were so radically different from one another. I saw an African-American woman who seemed to be in her late 50s. There were two physicians. There was an artist. There were some graduate students. There was the couple that had invited us. It was just an unusual mix of people. And a verse from the Bible actually came to my mind, and it says, "Ye shall know them by their fruits." And I just had the sense that I was in a very special place. I can't remember anything from the gathering itself, but I can remember the spirit of it was much like the spirit that I had felt when I had had that mystical experience. There was something of the fragrance of that, something of the flavor of it. And so I asked them if they would give me something to read. And so I started to read the writings of Abdu'l-Baha. And the writings of Abdu'l-Baha are really, really so special, as you know. And there's a particular line that struck me. It says what is that line? It says, "It is the end to foreignness. It is the being at one in complete dignity and freedom with all that dwell on earth." And I was so struck by that line that even when I at first read it, it penetrated me. It was a beautiful vision. And so I just started to study the Baha'i Faith, and in a short period, maybe 6 months of reading, I decided that I wanted to become a Baha'i.